Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
This video will be presented in a voiceover format. Before we continue on talking about young Jeezy and his non-payment of child support, we have to take it a little bit back because I noticed one comment, and shout out to you, sis. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture the comment. But you wrote that Freddie and Jeannie actually knew Lindsay prior to her being his side chick. Now, I was not able to find that information in particular. However, I was able to see that there was definitely some overlapping with the timeline. There were several YouTubers who covered Jeannie and Freddie's story on their channels. Shout out to Impressive and also Layla Lynn. Now, I can't go over all of their content, but let's just watch and see a little bit about what Lindsay and Freddie were up to around the time that Jeannie was getting divorced.
Now, there was a comment on Instagram defending Jeannie, and it said she ain't mad that he moved on and had a kid. That's why they divorced, so he can move on and have the family he wants. She is angry about the way he is going about it. Now he is trying to get money from her to support his new family. Lindsay responded and said she doesn't have money he needs. She wants all the money they acquired together, and his family's money from a prenup she signed. She's fighting a prenup and trying to take what his family owns. Freddie has done nothing but tried to move forward and simply asked for his half. He gave her everything and just asked for half of the house. She's a liar and it's gross. You people need to know the truth before you attack the innocent.
Red flag? What you mean, you people? Who's you people, ma'am? See, this is little microaggressions that I don't like. Lindsay, who's you people? We already know where this is gonna go. So it looks like Miss Lindsay definitely has a problem with using her pronouns. Now, let's continue on to hear a little bit more about what happened between them, because Impressive was able to dig up a lot of tea. Let's hear more of what Lindsay had to say. See how she fighting and riling up for her man? This woman was fighting Freddie's battles. It shows me that he has a weak character. Just like Jeannie was running all over him, it looks like Lindsay also runs over him as well.
Lindsay reached out to me and sent me a long email, and most of it was kind of a rant, but she did say that she is not a homewrecker. She said that she has been friends with Freddie for 8 years.
Red flag. So you were friends with a married man for 8 years. What kind of friends we talking about? This is what I noticed with a lot of single women who like to be friends with married men. Somehow they just end up at the right place and right time once they get a divorce. She was waiting in the wings. He probably was going to Lindsay every time he and Jeannie were having problems. Oh, look at her, she acting up. She went on national TV embarrassing me about dark meat on the side. She says all these things about me. I don't know what I'm gonna do. 8 years, y'all. Y'all know how many years that is of listening to a man complain about his wife?
After that interview she did on The Breakfast Club, Lindsay is fed up. And she was going in on Jeannie. She said Jeannie didn't care about anybody but herself and her image. She was forcing Freddie to live a
Oh, y'all know we gonna have to read all of this. Hold up. Let's go back. Let's read this. Hold up. Sis done wrote a whole dissertation. We gonna read it. All right, Lindsay. You know, I have time today. Let's read it. Dear Jeannie, you need to shut your mouth. I've never cared to know the complete depth of your marriage, nor have we cared to talk about you. You sure, Lindsay? You sure? I don't think so. Allegedly, that's my opinion. But from what I gathered from everyone who did feel the need to share their opinion of you and experience with you, general consensus revealed that your main focus seemed to be yourself, even during the hardest times of Freddie's life, like his father dying. You were selfish and you loved him at only your convenience. How would you know, Lindsay? Red flag. See, Freddie done talked about her. He was pillow talking. You know what else this reminds me of? This is a classic case of triangulation. We done talked about it a few times. The narcissistic triangulation. Y'all gonna walk with me. I understand it's an overused term, but there are a lot of people who exhibit these type of character traits, y'all. So we have to really go through it. The victim, who is the narky, portrays themselves as helpless or wrong to gain sympathy, while the persecutor, so that's Jeannie in this case, will be the individual the narcissist blames for their distress. And now we have the rescuer, Old Faithful, coming to save her man and rescue him from the persecutor, the mean old bad persecutor. She is the third party the narcissist enlists to support their narrative and intervene on their behalf. Y'all, it's a tale as old as time. Red flag! You didn't care about anything that he was part of if it didn't comply with your public image. All you cared about was yourself and your quote-unquote fame, which is a joke. You are blatantly obsessed with yourself, and you make it entirely clear through your actions that you are desperate for attention and obtain zero depth. I'm certain you are very well aware of how kind, unselfish, and loyal Freddie is. Interesting. You contradicted every bit of the foundation you both started on when you married. How would you know? How would you know, Lindsay? Was you sleeping with her? How would you know? See, somebody's been talking. A Christian foundation. You are no longer living a Christian lifestyle, but one that suited your fans. And that's none of your business if she was. You were no longer living a Christian lifestyle, but one that suited your fans. You were attempting to force Freddie to live your Hollywood ways and not giving him the respect or dignity to carry out his personal values, as if he couldn't do that himself. Red flag. Is he not a man? Is he not a man? See, he got you sitting up here fighting his battle, sister soldier. You in the front lines while he's sitting back eating popcorn. Weak as hell. Now I see why Jeannie was able to punk him. This makes sense. Bashing him for being a man and having an opinion. Forcing your newfound belief system on him and calling him out at the expense of his integrity. You were living a life all about you and only supporting causes that got you more attention, simply for the follows and liking of others, caring more about your self-promotion than your husband's needs. Oh, you care so much about his needs. Okay, we get it, sis. Making him your personal photographer instead of enjoying a moment with him. You see, I told you he was talking. He was pillow talking, y'all. You were so focused on the world around you and maintaining an image that you neglected someone who loved you dearly, turning personal vacations into photo shoots. And despite all that, you were or were not. Freddie loved you. He honored you and was faithful to you. He let you play out your fake love story via social media, even though he was terribly unhappy. What love story, sis? We heard how he got eaten up by mosquitoes, how she liked the dark meat on the side. She loved the bad boy. She loves danger. Every other chance she got, she said her type was a rapper, a black man. What love story did we hear now? Oh, the one that Freddie told you. Okay, let's continue. He honored you and was faithful to you. You absolutely know, without a doubt, how loyal he was to you, so cut the shit. You just can't stand the fact that he's over you and got over you publicly because you worship yourself, and how could anyone possibly get over you, right? You validate yourself through other people and can't stand that it's not about you right now, that he's not about you anymore. You are contesting your prenup, a prenup that you signed. You are trying to get more money. I even reached out to you after I met you, inviting you to Nashville. So they did meet each other. Sis, you were right. Very interesting. Friends for 8 years, my ass. Before we can get into Jeannie and Jeezy, we need to learn more about Jeezy's background. John Wayne Jenkins, known by his stage name Jeezy or Young Jeezy, is an American rapper. He was born on September 28th of 1977. Yes, y'all, he is a Libra man. Lord, we already know the ending. Wrap this right up. We already know, y'all. We already know something about Libras. I just can't pinpoint it. I don't know what it is, but Libra men are hell. Thankfully, I've never dated one, but from the stories that I hear, they are diabolical. But let's continue on to learn a little bit more about him. John Wayne Jenkins was born in Columbia, Carolina, and when he was a toddler, he moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where he lived with different family members as a result of his parents separating. In his book, Adversity for Sale, Jeezy goes into detail about how hard his childhood was and the different type of experiences that he had. So let's read more about his childhood. In an article written by Revolt, Jeezy revealed that traveling and living in Japan as a kid motivated him to get out of the hood. While discussing his life journey with the Tavio Samuels at Revolt World, Jeezy candidly talked about how his childhood shaped his life. The Adversity for Sale, You Gotta Believe author was raised in an underserved community in Atlanta, but always strived for more because his perspective of life was expanded at a young age. During his interview with Samuels, the trap rapper revealed that during his youth, he traveled around the globe and even lived in Japan due to his father being in the military before his parents decided to go their separate ways. So Jeezy said, childhood life, how can I describe it? You know, my mom was from the hood. My dad was a military guy. I got to travel the world at a very young age, so I saw Hawaii, Japan at a very young age, the businessman told the Black Print host. And when my parents got divorced, I had to go back to the hood, right? And going back to the hood, it was a change of life for me because my palate was different. As you could imagine, I was eating with chopsticks, at 4 or 5 years old. Okay, this makes sense now. This makes sense. Being honest about his experience as a minority residing overseas, the now real estate investor gave insight about how he handled standing out among the crowd, which was difficult even though he was a trendsetter. I'm a country boy, you know what I'm saying? I'm in a different country and I'm away from my family. It was like I was a fish out of water, and I immediately took my habits from where I came from with me, he said. So back when I was probably the best thief in my class, I was stealing everything you could get your hands on in Japan and, trying to hustle. Red flag! What was going on? You were too young to be a klepto, to be boosting stuff. This just lets me know that he was a product of his environment. This is sad, y'all. The fact that he got out of the hood, was living in another country, and was still doing hood activities just lets me know that this is where the pattern started. And so going forward, we're going to see if the same pattern reemerges. Continuing on. And then immediately I connected with the bad kids. What bad kids in Japan? Lord. So I pretty much had my own gang over there. Look at him. He already got his disciples, y'all. And when I say that, I was living on a base, so it was American kids. So they was from DC, Chicago, wherever, and I was the leader. Okay, that makes sense now. As you guys know, in military bases, they have their own city. I was the leader when I was in the hood, but now I was the leader in Japan. So I was still being a natural born leader, if you will. Okay, so what I understand is that you like to take charge. Noted. When I had to go back to the hood, the day I got to my grandmother's house, I told myself, I said, I gotta figure out a way to get back to what I know, which was like beaches. Different cultures, different people, because the town we lived in, the town population was maybe 3,000. You probably got 10 times more than that at Revolt World, Jeezy shared. And the thing that threw me off the most was everybody that I was telling, all my peers that I was telling that there was beaches and all these things out there, that I was lying, and I couldn't understand it because I saw it. So that started my pursuit. I just jumped off the porch and was like, man, I got to get back to what I know. Through his father, he was able to experience the world. But then through his mother, he went right back into the projects. And this is sad because there should have been a way that his father could have kept him. Red flag. Why was he with his mother? I do not know why he stayed with his mother, but it looks like maybe his father did not want to have that responsibility of taking care of him. And sometimes it is probably the best option for the child to stay with their dad if the dad was in a more stable environment, which it sounds like he was. So I do not know for the life of me why he sent his son to go back into that environment. but he did. I'm also wondering if his father grew up in that environment. So let's see if we can find out more from Mr. Jeezy.
I feel like my mother, it came from her not being raised right. Very violent, very verbal, cold. I just remember that I was kind of on the outside because I looked so much like my father. They divorced, and all I know is my father just told me straight up, he'll never trust another woman again, which made me go, shit.
Well, what was that about?
Because whatever happened between them hurt him. But it came to some points in my life where things just happened that was so real that there was nowhere else to go but with God.
What was the activation moment of trauma for you?
I think there was several things. I think that the first was being left with a babysitter that was a woman that was older than me. I mean, that was older, and her, you know, touching and doing things to me that don't normally happen to kids. Right?
Like molesting.
Right, basically. Yeah. So I was introduced to sex at a very young age. Yeah. Second thing was that I had this lady that lived next door to us in an apartment. She was married to this guy. They had 2 kids. And he was around my age, and I used to hang out with him. And I was there one day, and I remember like it was yesterday. They got into an argument. Yeah. And me and the little boys was playing in the room, and I heard them, you know, and I heard that saying before, you wait till I get back. I'll be right back. And I kind of looked at the boys. I'm like, yo, you know, and sure enough, he came running upstairs, and he went in the closet, right? And when he was going in the closet, he was thumbing through the closet, and I saw it when he pulled it out. It was like a big, like had to be like a silver 357.
Oh my God.
I looked at them, and I immediately was like, yo, we gotta hide.
Yeah. But why did you know to hide?
Because I had been around that before growing up. So I went and climbed under the sink in the bathroom and hid. And I heard some yelling, and all I heard was
Jeezy went through a lot. He went through a lot. And similar to Jeannie, he was sexually assaulted at a young age. And no child should have to go through that. So we can see that Jeezy had a lot of things to work on. And it's very tragic because a lot of our young children, they're going through this. And it's up to us, like I said in part 1, to change the narrative, change the pattern, be vigilant, start paying attention. Because this type of trauma, it never goes away. You can heal, you can forgive, but it is very hard to forget.
I try to do 2 or 3 songs a day. Whoa, word up. Yeah, but don't get it twisted though. I do like 2 or 3 songs a day. See how I try to do. I think I was a young, ambitious hustler that had seen a lot of success in music, like from the Big Timers and Cash Money and No Limit. And I felt like that was my, like, you know what I'm saying? I felt like that was my ticket out of the ghetto. And I was really trying to figure it out, but I was coming from a place of being like, you know, because back then, like, Baby Them was the CEO and all that, so I wanted to kind of be that. But I kind of got put in a position to be an artist after a lot of things happened.
And a song came on, I heard a voice on there. I said, who is that? He said, oh, that's me. I just be playing around. You know, I don't really, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm the next Master P. I don't do none of that. I said, I like your voice. So it must have, you know, he was like, really? You like my voice? I was like, yeah. But I remember I told him, I said, damn, bro. Man, he's spending all this money up here at Patchworks. I mean, not Patchworks, but at Dark. I said, my man, Calfani, they got a studio where, man, we could lock that thing down and really could work.
One thing we cannot take away from young Jeezy is his rap skills. He is an extremely talented rapper, and I will personally say that he's one of the best rappers to come out of Georgia. I have a lot of Jeezy songs that are on replay on my playlist. He just has a way of painting a story. And not only that, but his voice is very melodic. He has a very unique sound and flow, which is why he was able to have such a successful career. Not only is he a very talented lyricist, he also has a very strong work ethic.
Young, why your voice so hoarse? I just sound like money, baby. I should have been a Porsche. It goes Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. You know I'm down with the niggas down for me. I got 2 words for your love and loyalty.
Now that we got through his successful rap career, let's get through his legal issues. This man done been to jail, y'all. So his first stint in jail was when he was a juvenile. So he went to juvie in 1995 and spent 6 months in YCP, a boot camp in Georgia, for narcotics possession. Red flag. He was too young, y'all. So not only was he stealing when he was younger, but he was also selling drugs. But then again, like I said, he is a product of his environment. So I'm going to give him a little bit of grace because he didn't know any better, y'all. And he even affiliated himself with gang members as well. So of course, this is the type of lifestyle that he would lead. On March 11, 2005, Jeezy was arrested after an alleged pew-pewing with some of his friends in Miami Beach, Florida. There's something about Miami that makes these dudes go cray-cray. But let's continue. He was charged with 2 counts of carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Prosecutors dropped the charges 2 months later due to lack of evidence. On June 18, 2008, he was arrested for a DUI. And this was in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2014, he was arrested for battery, false imprisonment, and threats after an alleged fight with his son in September 2012. Red flag, why are you fighting your son? This is insane, y'all. Let's read more about this because we're going to stop right here. Let's find out more about him fighting his young son, Jadarius. Atlanta rapper Young Jeezy turned himself into authorities after a grand jury warrant was issued for his arrest last Friday for allegedly attacking his teenage son, reports CNN. Jeezy, real name J. Wayne Jenkins, posted a $45,000 bond and was released from the Fulton County, Georgia jail later that night. The 36-year-old is facing felony charges of battery, terroristic threats, and false imprisonment. The alleged incident took place in September 2012 at the rapper's Atlanta apartment. Jeezy's son told police that his father, reacting to a text message his son had sent him, slammed the teenager against a sliding shower door and threw him into a bathroom wall. The report also stated that Jeezy's bodyguard prevented the boy from running away. The son told police that Jeezy allegedly pulled him back into the room, choked him, and said, "I'll unalive you," before throwing him onto the floor and kicking him in the head. My goodness. Police received a call from the teenager's mother 2 days later after he came home with bruises, according to the report. Red flag! He beat him and then he had to stay in the house? Now, I'm not going to excuse the son because teenagers can have smart mouths. They can be very reckless. So I get it. But at the same time, Mr. Jenkins, you done went too far. This is practically abuse. You beat your child like he was another hood dude in the streets. And this just shows you the patterns, y'all.
My mother and dad married. My dad was in the service. He took us all overseas. I would come back every now and then to my grandmother's house, which was the hood, right? But it's okay when you come back. When they got divorced, I actually had to go back and live.
Yeah.
So now this is like,
before it's like, oh.
yeah, now it's just like, oh, yeah. And it's like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and not without the protection of your father.
Yeah, because he had to go back. He took us there and he had to go back and, you know, be a Marine. I look like my dad. Like, so my mom took a lot of that out on me, which then made me go to the streets because now I'm looking for love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could tell by her words, her accent, and you know, before my mother passed, you know, I just did a lot of time just forgiving her because she was a baby trying to raise a baby, right? And she was trying to figure life out too. And if you really think about it, our parents are really just grown kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not perfect just because they're your parents. So.
And they had less access to
Right.
The verbiage, the mental health care, the just the self-awareness.
Yeah.
It was also addictions. I know your mom was dealing with alcohol
and drugs.
And drugs, yeah.
So all that was going on, and you know, she was trying her best to raise, but we kept bumping heads. And you know, we came to a head one day. You know, she pulled a gun on me because we got in this big argument. I went to live with my grandmother after that.
But what does that do to you? How old are you?
Maybe 12, 13.
When you think about what that would do to a 12-year-old boy.
But I'm gonna tell you, and you know, I'm just being honest with you. I had that happen in my life. I don't want to get into the details, but you know, with my firstborn, we got to that point. So I can see. Because when your child doesn't want to, you know, abide by anything you're saying, then it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we're in a better place now.
Thank God.
Yeah, but it was a point, like, he was a grown man. I'm just like, man, like, you know, you gotta respect something. He's like, no, I don't got, you know, because he's going through the same thing that I went through with my dad. Like, I'm out here trying to take care of everybody, but then, you know, and T.D. Jakes said it best. You know, when you out here, you provide, and you're gonna lose on that side with your kids. Because as a black man, you got to get out here and you got to go above and beyond to take care of your people, right?
We can see that he had a lack of emotional regulation, similar to his future wife. Because Jeannie also showed that she had no type of emotional regulation either, especially when it came to Freddie. Now let's read this article. Because after he got arrested for beating his son's ass to oblivion, Jeezy was arrested again. Less than 3 weeks after young Jeezy turned himself in after allegedly beating up and threatening to unalive his teenage son, the rapper has been arrested again. 3 weeks later, red flag. Sir, calm down. You were 38 at that time. Nothing is that serious. You need to calm down. What is going on? Jeezy was arrested after cursing at officers and refusing to identify himself. He was reportedly seen leaving the back of a home after a security alarm went off. Earlier this month, he turned himself in after allegations he threatened to unalive his son. The teen's son also said Jeezy slammed his head against a shower door and choked him. Alpharetta, Georgia police spokesman George Gordon confirmed the new arrest to CNN, but did not provide additional details Tuesday night. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Jeezy, whose real name is J. Wayne Jenkins, was arrested Tuesday afternoon and charged with obstruction for allegedly cursing at officers and refusing to provide his name. Gordon told CNN affiliate WSB that police arrived at an Alpharetta townhouse because of a security alarm, but no one answered the door. Police saw Jeezy walking out the back of the townhouse, and the rapper allegedly said the townhouse was his girlfriend's home. The Journal-Constitution said Jenkins refused to show his identification or give his name and instead cursed at officers, who then arrested him. Red flag, he was stalking her. That's what he was doing. He was trespassing, and the alarm tripped. Thank God for the alarm. There was an article published by UDADA, or UDATA, and it's titled The Impact of Trauma, How Living in the Hood Affects Mental Health. People and families living below the poverty line have higher risk factors for mental health illnesses. These factors are more pronounced among children who grow up under consistent socioeconomic inequalities. Empirical evidence suggests that racial discrimination is associated with poor mental health and physical health outcomes, as well as a range of emotional responses that are reflective of a trauma response, including avoidance, hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts, confusion, anger, depression, and low self-esteem. Y'all gonna take note of this. This could show up in everyday life with less than desirable behavioral traits, including withdrawing from family and friends, acting out, loss of hope, and fear of death. Experiencing trauma as a child and adolescent can influence behaviors into adulthood. The relationship between the child and their mother caregiver is essential for developing the brain. This relationship builds the attachment/attunement the child has within social interactions and is influenced by many outside characteristics. These external characteristics provide the environment and emotional availability of their mother caregiver. Trauma or stressor disorders in children impact the development of attachment. Connections between trauma and attachment are seen through explicit examples of children who cry constantly or in situations where the child is stealing food. In adolescence, trauma and the development of attachment are seen through withdrawal or acting out. All behaviors can overlap and create a mix of outcomes for each individual. How each person reacts to the trauma may change with time. As the brain develops, the child learns how to adapt to their surroundings. When experiencing situations of trauma, Children are exposed to opportunities where mental health may present issues in the future. The cognitive functioning of the brain is impacted by traumatic experiences. An example is seen in children/teens who experience violence within their households. For the child, this experience could develop social skills of avoidance or lack of trust and can impact how the child experiences daily life at school. Associated outcomes or behaviors typically displayed include intense levels of anxiety and self-regulation problems. So now we see the challenges that Jeezy had to face as a child and now as an adult. He had a mother wound, and mother wounds are very extremely difficult to overcome. You have to do extensive therapy, and also there's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen because his mother, the first woman who he was introduced to in his life, the person who gave him life, basically did not love him in the way that a mother should love a child. And notice how his mother was violent towards him, and in return, he picked up that pattern and he was violent towards his son, repeating generational patterns. Now, if you thought that was it, no, there's more. So we went over Jeezy's childhood and his legal issues. Now we're going to go over his rap beefs. He had a lot of rap beefs, but two in particular. Jeezy had a rap beef with Rick Ross. Yes, y'all. In 2012, at the BET Awards, they got the scrapping. So we're going to see a little bit of that now. Red flag. Why are y'all scrapping? Grown men, y'all. Millionaires at that. Doing hood activities behind the stage. I will say that this is expected because we read the article about childhood trauma and the lack of emotional regulation. We're going to give our brother Jeezy a little bit of grace because he didn't know any better. Obviously, he had a hot temper and he didn't know how to do anything but react. He has been programmed to nuck and buck. That's his normal reaction. He's always ready to go at any moment. So not only did he have a beef with Rick Ross, but he also had a beef with Gucci Mane. And this beef was a pretty extensive one. So we're going to read a little bit of that. And after we read that, then we're going to go over his relationships. This man is a headache, y'all. He got a lot going on. So a history of Jeezy and Gucci Mane's beef. And this was written by Complex Magazine. Now, Jeezy and Gucci Mane, they were able to make amends years later. However, it was a long time, y'all, before they could get it together. Gucci Mane and Jeezy have a long, complicated history with each other. After a years-long feud that included multiple diss tracks, the unaliving of one of Jeezy's associates, physical altercations, the beef had become one of rap's long-standing Cold Wars before they reunited for a versus battle. To make some sense of what's happened on the road from mortal enemies to battle contestants, we've put together an updated timeline that runs through the history of Jeezy and Gucci Mane's beef. All right, let's read it. So they had a feud over the song Icy. Y'all remember that song? I'm so icy. So this happened in 2005, probably before many of you were born. I know that. What happened? When Jeezy and Gucci Mane recorded their first collab, Jeezy was under the impression that it'd land on his debut album, Let's Get It Thug Motivation 101. Instead, Gucci used it for his first independent album, Trap House. Later, a pissed off Jeezy. So Jeezy was the one who was angry. Red flag. He was mad because that song should have been on his album. This is extremely childish. But obviously we can see that, like I said, he's always on go. He doesn't think. He just reacts before he thinks. He reacts first, then thinks later. This was his MO. So a pissed off Jeezy would claim he was never even paid for his appearance. Icy went on to peak at number 46 on Billboard's R&B hip hop chart, while having a larger impact across the South. Yes, and it was always number one on 106 in Park. People love that song. Jeezy puts a bounty on Gucci Mane's chain with stay strapped. So he started this whole situation. And silly me, I thought this whole time Gucci was the culprit. No, it was Jeezy the snowman. Now this, May 9, 2005. So the first incident, hold up, let's go back. First incident was May 2005. May 9th, he already got a diss track. Red flag. You are too angry, sir. What is the problem? Y'all both was gonna make some good money. But again, he felt like someone slighted him. I get it. He felt like he should have been paid. I understand that. But then take him to the courtroom. Nope, he wants to go and record a diss record. Of course. What happened? Fueled by the bad taste that the icy situation left in his mouth, Jeezy put aspiring gangbangers on alert with Stay Strapped. Now, the reason why I'm going through this whole extensive background is because this gives us an indication of how he is in relationships. You think that he won't have this type of pattern? As soon as he feels like his manhood is tested, he's going to go off. He's TTG, trained to go. So do you really think that he didn't have this kind of mentality with Jeannie? Let's continue. Key line. These are his lyrics, y'all. I got a bounty on that ish N-word, 10 stacks. So if he come to your town and you just happen to snatch that mother effer off his neck, I'm gonna shoot you the 10 stack, man, so I can cremate that mother effer. All because he didn't put his song on his album. But then again, when you have childhood trauma, and I'm not trying to excuse his behavior, I'm just giving a reason so that you guys can understand the mindset. He is stunted, arrested development. So this is why he is responding in this way. This is a grown man we're talking about here. Now, y'all know in the hip hop game, you can't just let somebody punk you. So of course Gucci is going to respond. Gucci Mane responds with round 1. Mid-May 2005. All of this happened in May. What happened? Gucci Mane made it very clear that he didn't take Jeezy's shots lightly. Of course he wouldn't. Those are threats. Even before the beat drops, Gucci says that N-word young Jeezy, man. That N-word fake. Gucci prepared himself for a lengthy battle by declaring in the chorus, this is round 1 of Gucci Mane versus Jeezy. So he already knew he wasn't going to stop. He knew Gucci's crazy too. Just as crazy. However, in this situation, it was all Jeezy's doing. All because he didn't add his song to the mixtape. Now, there's going to be a jump scare here. Brace yourselves. Ooh, Lord, Gucci Mane before this. My goodness. Gucci Mane charged with the unaliving of a Jeezy associate. That escalated very quickly. Because you're messing with a crazy man here. You thought you were crazy? I'm crazier. You got 2 crazy fools here. May 19, 2005. How long did this beef take? 3 weeks and somebody's already unalived. This is ridiculous. But then again, it's expected. Shortly after the Stay Strapped and round 1 volleys, the war of words turned violent. While Gucci was visiting a female friend on May 10th, 4 men broke into the house and began assaulting him because remember, Jeezy put a 10K bounty to grab his chain. So of course you have these groupie men that will do anything for money. When the men threatened to pew-pew him, Gucci grabbed his pew-pew and started pew-pewing. After hitting 1 man, everyone fled the scene. Of course they did. That man, Henry Lee Clark III, better known as Corporate Thugs Entertainment rapper Pookie Lock, was later found unalive near a school in Decatur, Georgia. Now, Corporate Thugs Entertainment is Young Jeezy's label, or was his label. Days later, Gucci turned himself into police after a warrant was issued for his arrest. He was charged with the unaliving of Pookie Lock. This is what happens, y'all, when you do not have any type of emotional regulation. This is what happens. Now you have 1 man unalived, another one in jail. And then the one who started it all, where is he? Nowhere to be found. Gucci Mane says, I'm not an unaliver. Jeezy denies involvement. Of course he did. He started it all and then he went into hiding. This is what happens, y'all. That's why it's not worth it. May 27, all within a month. This is insane. What happened? During a phone call from jail, Gucci said, I just want to let everyone know I'm not an unaliver. I was upset. Of course, he has his own trauma. We might need to do a case study on him and Keisha Kaur. I was scared a little bit, but I had to do what I had to do. You gotta be a man about it. I'm not a bad person. I have remorse for everything that happened. At least he felt guilty. And to be honest with you, they ran up on him. So what was he supposed to do? Let them just do whatever they wanted to do? I understand. I'm not gonna fault Gucci for reacting in that way. He was defending himself. But Jeezy, like I said, started it all. Red flag. You were just a menace. All because your ego was bruised, Lord. Meanwhile, Jeezy denied any connection to the pew-pewing, even though Pookie Lock, Lord, what a name, but rest in peace, Pookie, was signed to his label. He claimed that Gucci was trying to turn a bad situation into good publicity and sell his record. No, he wasn't. He was telling the truth. You're crazy. And you sent people out there to get him. That's what you did. And of course he was acquitted. This was clearly self-defense, 100%. Now, a few months later, the next year, January 17, 2006, 9 months after being charged with unaliving, Gucci Mane was acquitted. Yes, absolutely. He admitted to pew-pewing his attackers, but maintained he had acted in self-defense. Clearly, an eyewitness backed up his claim, leaving prosecutors with no evidence for an unaliving case. Yeah, and obviously the song where he said he put 10K bounty on the head, this is what's going to happen. Gucci Mane lashes out at Jeezy again on 745. Now, he got acquitted. Now he's mad, y'all. June 15th, so a few months after he got acquitted, he's angry. After a year of silence between the two camps, Gucci Mane came out of nowhere with 745 in the third verse. Gucci defends his decision to fight back against his attackers in 2005 and also takes shots at Jeezy for, in his mind, putting the hit out and not dealing with it himself. Remember, he said he likes to be the leader. Remember when they was in Japan, he had all them little kids boosting for him, stealing? That's what he likes. He likes to be in charge. He doesn't like for people to disrespect him, number one, and he doesn't like it when people try to punk him. He's the leader. I'm the boss. That's what he wants to be. Gucci releases Gangsta Grillz mixtape with DJ Drama. There's more. Okay. So this was in 2008. Now, Jeezy posse gets into fight with DJ Drama. This was in 2009, January, right after New Year's. You would have thought that they would turn over a new leaf, but no, they still with the shits. Knucking and bucking. What happened? At a screening for the movie Notorious, y'all know the Notorious B.I.G. movie? Members of Young Jeezy's CTE crew got into a fight with Drama and his entourage. A damn DJ, y'all. Red flag for what? Oh, because remember, DJ Drama released a mixtape with Gucci Mane. He was doing his job. And because he used to collaborate with Young Jeezy is like, no, you can't do your job. You're part of the street beef. Your enemy is my enemy, like a toddler. Months later, Jeezy would call Drama a biatch and a cornball in a XXL interview, of course. Because DJ Drama's just trying to do his job. He's a civilian. But of course, you're going to call him corny. You thought he was going to be in the street life like you. No, he's trying to get a coin. He doesn't care. Finally, we see some sense here. And it's coming from Gucci while he's in jail. He had time to sit his behind down and detox from all them drugs and lean he was doing. Next, Gucci Mane says he's collaborating with Jeezy again. All right, here we go. But y'all already know this was short-lived because Mr. Short Fuse here, he couldn't handle it. Jeezy and Gucci Mane's entourages brawl. Of course they did. Here go Waka Flocka, all in the mix. Look at all these men. So now we have two grown men that could have done something really good, made a truce, try to, teach the young ones, hey man, this is not worth it. Don't do this. Like, we're going to squash the beef. Nope. Somebody has to revive it again. Jeezy claims the entire beef was a misunderstanding. Red flag. It was your fault. There's no misunderstanding. You were just driven by ego, Mr. Libra. That's what happened. Then, on November 19, 2020, they finally both made it on stage. I actually watched it. I thought it was very commendable of these two to get together. And they finally called a truce and ended the hip-hop Cold War. Congratulations. Next. Now that we've gone over Jeezy's tragic childhood, his mother issues, his crime sprees, and his rap beefs, let's get into his romantic relationships. Now, Jeezy has been romantically linked to a few women in the entertainment industry. Let's read an article written by Blue Magazine that explains his relationship history. The rapper's relationship history is marked by high-profile romances and a few public scandals. Here's a breakdown of the women Jeezy has been romantically linked to. Number 1, Keisha Cole. According to Showbiz Cheat Sheet, Jeezy and Keisha dated in 2005, but their romance was brief. Y'all remember when that whole situation was happening with Gucci? He also had time to have a relationship. 2 years after the pair started dating, Jeezy and Keisha decided to go their separate ways, with the rapper later claiming that he turned down a marriage proposal from the heaven-sent songstress. Red flag. Keisha, why were you proposing to this man? Why? I was grown enough to tell her, look, baby, that isn't what it is right now. I'm trying to get my ish together. I'm trying to get my money, take care of me and mine, he told Vibe, per Madame Noir. Red flag, you liar. You had enough time to beef with Gucci Man. Y'all saw that whole timeline? He had more than enough time for a response, stalking Gucci, putting out bounties. But when it came to the relationship, oh, I'm trying to get my ish together, baby. This is not what you want. Sir, be for real. Now, I have to add that he did have a previous relationship with his baby mother, Tanisha Dykes.
Hello, my name is Tanisha Nicole Dykes. I'm originally from Pineview, Georgia, Wilcox County, small town down south. You guys may also know me as the mother of young Jeezy's son, Jadarius.
8 months pregnant, a project baby. Mama said, Daddy, he wanted an abortion. Homeboy saying that young nigga died. Mama said the hospital had to transport me. Came from the bottom where I found a glory.
Red flag. Daddy wanted an abortion? Lord, Jeezy. My goodness. No wonder you was beating your son to a pulp. You didn't even want him initially. Now, if they had both agreed to it, that's a different situation. But it looks like she wanted the baby and he didn't. What was the reason, Jeezy? What was the reason? Oh, you didn't want to take your responsibility. Here we go. Now I can see what's going on, and it's sad. Because on one hand, I feel bad for him because of his childhood and the trauma he endured, the PTSD. But then on another end, the behavior, and it's like he doesn't want to change it, or he didn't at the time. Now let's see if he ends up doing it. But it's like just the cycle keeps repeating itself. Very tragic. You didn't even want your son in the beginning. And that happens a lot, y'all. A lot. Usually the father will want the mother to get rid of the child for whatever reason. The mother ends up keeping the child, and then the father learns to love the child. But it's just very unfortunate. She only posted one video. I can only assume that there was some type of gag order, but let's read her bio. Hi y'all, I'm Tanisha Dykes. Welcome to my channel. I'm a proud mom, a single woman navigating love and life, and yes, I'm also the mother of young Jeezy's son. My journey hasn't always been easy, but it's been real, and now I'm ready to share it with you. Please let us know, sis. We need to know. I need to see the parallels between your story, Keisha Cole, his other baby mama, and Jeannie. I'm sure there's some parallels and comparisons here. This space is for single moms, for women who've had to pick up the pieces, for those who've loved deeply and lost themselves in the process and are now learning to find their way back. Amen. I love this growth. I like it for you, sis. All right, y'all. Now let's move on to his next relationship with Malette Mahi Gabra Medine. Jeezy had a long and tumultuous relationship with Malette that ended in a bitter court battle. Jeezy and Mahi started their relationship in 2010, the Atlanta Black Star reports. The couple welcomed their daughter Amra Noor in 2014. They then went on to get engaged, but their relationship went sour shortly after. Jeezy and Mahi split in 2019 and a bitter custody battle ensued. Mahi accused the rapper of failing to comply with her child support agreement. Of course she did. And Jeezy responded by suggesting that his ex was jealous of his relationship with Jeannie. We gonna get into that, y'all. In court documents obtained by Bossip, Mahi asked Jeezy to be held in contempt for refusing to make child support payments and denying her request for a new car. to drive her baby around and whatnot. In his response, Jeezy stated that Mahi had totaled the car he had previously bought for her and was dissatisfied with the replacement vehicle he provided. Mahi denied the claims and addressed Jeezy's court contention that she has a full-time nanny and that she'd kept their daughter away from him or his side of the family. She said that she does not have a full-time carer for their daughter or caregiver, and that she'd always make sure that Jeezy could see his daughter whenever he wanted, and often with less than 24-hour notice. Red flag! You don't have an agreement? Not on Mahi. This is Jeezy. Because remember, he's the one complaining to the courts. But then he has her driving around the city at all types of hours. This is very irresponsible. But then again, it seems like when he's done with the baby mothers, he starts to call them bitter, even though we see that he's the bitter one. And this reminds me of the whole Gucci Man situation, where he started everything, and yet he was trying to come off as if, oh, it's a misunderstanding and it's all Gucci's fault. No, it was your fault. You started it. Mahi said she'd been the one to facilitate a relationship between Jeezy's father and the girl, driving up to 70 miles one way so that they could spend time together. That is not her responsibility. Red flag, that's Jeezy's responsibility. But again, she's trying to be nice. Mahi said she also tried to foster contact between the girl and Jeezy's adult son, so Jadarius. But Jeezy worked to prevent them from having a relationship. There you go. He's mad. He was upset because he had started dating Jeannie Mai. All right, y'all, let's put a pause right now on Jeezy and Mahi, because she will reappear in this story. As well as Freddie and his 8-year waiting in the wings BFF / alleged, not alleged, I'm not a home wrecker side chick, Lindsay. So let's get started on Jeannie and Jeezy.
We got to know him off of just our first date. Let me tell you about this, because we're grown. We're in our 40s. And what I think is that God somehow managed our timing so that we spent time after our long-term relationships. We both came from 10-year relationships. And we really worked on ourselves to really understand what healthy love is like. Wow. So he asked me out on a date, right? And I was like, okay, where did you meet? He's got his ways, dude. He has so he seeked you out. I'll tell you this. We met here on this set, but you gotta hear the story from him, because what he said still knocks me away today. This is the first day we met, right? So then we went on a date.
No, it was before that.
Well, there was another, yes. So you gotta ask him, right?
Lonnie got the deets.
Check this out, you guys. I walk in on my date, sushi, right? And I'm like, oh my God. I asked the host, I'm like, is there a Jeezy here? And I'm like, Jeannie, you gotta know his government name before you go out on this date. What's going on? So I walk in, I sit down, and 4 hours later, we shut down the sushi restaurant. We had the most amazing deep talk about our greatest lessons in life, our greatest mistakes. It was super vulnerable, right? Mm-hmm. So then after that, he looks at me and he's like, yo, you wanna I don't know, I don't wanna go home. Do you wanna go salsa dancing with me? Wait, yes. Jeezy can dance. Yes. He can salsa. I literally looked at, of course, and I was surprised. I was like, Avi, Papi, let's go. He's an amazing dancer, by the way. What? Sick dancer, yes. And we walk out, and here's what happens. So we walk out, and we close down the club, and he puts his hands on my shoulders, and I go, please don't kiss me. Don't kiss me. It's too regular. Like, this is so good. Don't do the basic thing. Yeah. Should have known he ain't anything but basic. He looks at me, he goes, can I give you a homework assignment? And I go, why? Because I'm Asian?
Red flag. Now, I must say that was a cute little date. Very respectable. I guess we see a different side of Jeezy here with Jeannie. He's evolved now. He's a cultured man. He's not like the hood dude that was beefing with Gucci and whatnot. Now he's a different type of man. He's in his 40s. He done been through life, seen life, and now he wants to have fun. All for it. But why does she have a homework assignment, Jeezy? Why does she have to do labor for you on the first date? This is why I gave him the red flag.
He was like, no, I want you to think about the last 8 hours we just spent together. And think about, what do you envision us doing together? What do you picture me being in your life? If this matches my notes, I will pursue you.
What?
If not,
matches his notes?
Jeezy was observing her. He's like, looky here, if you want to be my girl, there's a list that I have that I want you to also match. And I get it. You should have standards. Now, I'm curious to see what his standards were, because we all know how this ended. But for now, let's give Jeezy a green flag. At least he has standards. We'll give him that. Things were off to a great start between the two because Jeannie couldn't stop talking about Jeezy on the real and how great of a man he was. So let's listen to her gush about her new bae.
So we're almost at a year now, but I know. He's rich too, huh? What did you say? He's rich. He has a lot of nice things. I don't know the card types and stuff, so when I get it, I'm like, oh, this is different. So I don't know. But the nicest gift he gave me is so I was over at his house and we were leaving for Christmas break, and I was like, I'm going to the Bay, he's going to Atlanta. And he gave me this box, and it was a huge box, and I was like, oh God, dude, don't give me some. I don't know why, but I immediately thought he was going to give me like a nice bag or like a fur jacket. And I was like, dude, that's so cornball, you know? So I took it and I went home. I actually tried to give it to the door guy, and he's like, is that from Mr. Jenkins? And I was like, yes. And he was like, I really think you should keep that. And I was like, oh, damn, I'm going to open this now, right? So I went home. Ironically, I put it aside because I didn't want to open it. Mama Mai tore into it.
Red flag. Now, 2 red flags. One, because she thought he was going to buy her something because of rappers. You know, they have this stereotype that rappers just give fur and nice bags. That was number 1 red flag. Sis, you don't know him like that. So she already had a stereotype about him in her mind. But that's besides the point. Now, number 2, why is your mama digging into your stuff? As grown as you are, you in your 40s. Why is your mama all up in your business? But then again, I don't expect anything less because there are no boundaries between her and her mother.
All right, Jeannie, I want to know who your best friend is. Who's your best friend?
Tamar, my best friend is my one and only mother. My
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. You don't even know. This woman, like, she represents all the things that I want to be, you know, like stand up strong for myself, be proud of, you know, everything you've been through, even the mistakes.
That's right.
And the crazy thing is, like, I love what you said, that your best friends don't judge you. Mm-hmm. You have to, I don't want to say this weird, but you got to have an Asian mom to understand when I say this. She absolutely will judge me. She absolutely will tell me when I look damn dumb doing something or sound stupid. But it's the most loving way, and it's the only person that tells me exactly like it is and has always been right.
This is a recurring issue because while she was married with Freddie, he had the same issue with her mama being all up in their business. That's probably why she made him chase her for 2 years, just to see how committed are you, so I could run the house. Mama Mai loves to run Jeannie and what Jeannie's doing. And unfortunately, Jeannie keeps allowing it. And why is she opening gifts that your man gave you? That's very disrespectful to me, in my opinion. It shows lack of boundaries and also lack of respect. Man, and she got a whole man. Uncle Roger. Why she not with Uncle Roger? You have other things going on. You got other children. Let's continue watching.
What is it? I said, what did he get? He rich people. And I opened it, and inside were 9 beautiful wrapped little boxes. And when I opened each of them, they were books.
Oh, because you love to read.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
He gave me a book
sweet.
on travel, a book on the life of minority women. And it was just really touching.
That was, you know, emotional.
Yes. But those gifts mean the most.
But
Yes,
why did you give a gift to the doorman?
No, well, because I wanted to give it back to him. But here's the ironic thing. So after that, I told him, I was like, I'm in, let's do this. Right? But the ironic thing is, we then went on a birthday trip to San Tropez for my mom. I invited him to hang out with Mama Mai. He knew what got to me, but he knew he had to win my mom's love. Right. So we invited us out for a day. We walk out, and literally there's a huge yacht, and he had planned a whole yacht day for Mama Mai. And Mama Mai said, I like him.
Red flag. So remember, they had Freddie all up in Vietnam, getting devoured by mosquitoes, had him chase her for 2 years. And I'm talking about her mama, not her. He was chasing her mama. She was putting him through it while he was chasing her mother for 2 years. She wouldn't give him the time of day. And yet all Jeezy had to do was show up, spend money on a yacht, and then mama's approval right there. Bands will make her dance. Her mama at least. Sometimes you don't have to go through hardship. You don't have to. Trust and believe me. Because while they're putting you through it, they're gonna let somebody go right in. Now, while they were dating, Jeannie's past comments about black men being the dark meat on the side, they resurfaced because we were like, hey, remember when you said this about black men? Jeezy, you really gonna be with her after she done said this about black men? Now, he defended his new girlfriend. And this is what he had to say.
But did you hear? I've always wanted to ask you this. So there was a comment that she said on the reel a while ago. And she basically said she likes her, what was it? Lean and white meat, but then she likes her dark meat on the side. Did y'all ever talk about those comments that she made back in the day?
I'm gonna tell you how real she is.
Because you're the entree now, FYI.
We always the entree. But before we even started dating, we had that conversation.
Really?
First thing, when we really talked, she sat me down. She said, listen, it was something that I said, and it might have got taken out of context, and I want you to listen to it in its entirety. And I did. And I think you guys do journalism. You guys do it every day. People can take what they want. You know what I'm saying? And I know her people. I know her family. I ain't never felt no sense of racism. She comes from the Bay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
She eats shitland.
Right. And some real, like, she knows E40 better than me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just think sometimes, like, people look for things in people, but at the same time, you got to know I'm a good judge of character, and I'm not going to do nothing that's going to jeopardize my integrity. But she's so solid. That's one of the first conversations we had.
That's fine.
Like, you different.
Red flag. Now, I couldn't do the red flag when I wanted to because I didn't want to stop the video. I wanted to stop the video and call out red flag when she talking about, oh, she like chitlins. And he said she's from the Bay. And she listens to E40. Sir, that doesn't mean that she doesn't have any biases. That conversation was not taken out of context. It's how she really felt. Now, did she put her foot in her mouth? Absolutely, she did. But again, that's how she felt. That's what she felt about you. And then they're like, yeah, but you the entree now. Okay, let's see how far your entree skills gets you. This man was ready to risk it all for his new bae. All because, you know, she was different from what he was used to. And maybe she reminded him of his childhood of when he was in the military. And so now he could relive his childhood once again. Who knows? But anyway, he told us to mind our business and that we shouldn't be concerned because he is not a dark meat on the side. He is a whole entree. Y'all heard him. All right, now, moving on. Jeannie and Jeezy were so in love, y'all. They done showed us everything. As soon as they popped out and they became an official couple, they were riding bicycles together, singing songs. They were singing throwback R&B songs in the car. Jeezy even had Tevin Campbell sing live, y'all.
I got somebody to come say happy birthday.
They were even dancing along to Can You Stand the Rain? Y'all know the song by New Edition. I know some of y'all are youngins, but there we go. Through the good times and bad times, you will always be right there. Sunny days, everybody loves them. But tell me, baby, can you stand the rain? They were singing in the rain, y'all. Singing in the rain to New Edition. We love it. Look at them. Y'all know Jeannie likes to talk. She's in love and whatnot. So she also shared what it was like having Thanksgiving with Jeezy's family.
We took somebody home. Look at that. So your man took you home for Thanksgiving. Jeannie, how was it?
It was an unforgettable, surreal moment. It was the first time that obviously we spent Thanksgiving together, and to be able to have an intimate dinner with his family is beautiful. They're all such like lovely people, and they're fun.
They look like my cousins.
Yeah, did they? Do they? Okay, and they got mad cousins. If you saw his stories afterwards, we turned it into a lit party afterwards. There was a DJ, there was electric sliding, there was a lot of things going on. But this is what's most meaningful. I asked his auntie, who loves to like bring different dishes, to make me, and I threw it out there like thinking she wasn't going to do it. I was like, Auntie, her name is Mother. So I was like, Mother, would you make me some oxtails and some chitlins? Oh. Yo, she came with Tupperware, chitlins, and they were just for me. They weren't for everybody. She was like, this is just for you. Don't let anybody else have it. Thank you. So it's so wonderful to meet his family and be able to spend time together. Yeah, it was so special.
They were celebrating birthdays. Remember, Jeezy had Tevin Campbell sing at her birthday? Now it was time for Jeannie to repay the favor. So let's hear how they celebrated Jeezy's birthday while they were dating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how was that? Where did you guys go?
Wow.
Yeah. It was so much fun. We celebrated his 42nd birthday. He's a Libra, ladies.
Red flag just for the Libra. One of my younger brothers is a Libra. I love him dearly. Love him dearly, but that doesn't mean that Libra men are going to escape the allegations. Not on my watch.
Oh. I don't know why I said that. I don't know what that means. No, but we went to Mexico. We went to Riviera Maya, and it was something short because, we got to be here back at work. And what I really love is, I think after you turn 40, both of us experiencing this, and you know about this, you just enjoy the present. Yeah. You start to reflect on everything that you rushed through. And of course, with his career, he had to do so much to keep on the ball to get to where he is. And then now he's like taking a break and just being able to be in the moment. And I love being a part of that.
Yes.
I love
You actually planned this whole weekend getaway for him. And I think that's so dope about you, Jeannie. You're like very, very thoughtful. So she was like researching like what would be fun.
Yes. And I like a man who knows how to play. He's adventurous like me. So he's down for it.
Jeannie was my man. So she even said that her and Jeezy met at the right time in their life. And then after this, we're going to hear how Jeezy's the ultimate romantic. We're also going to hear how he's different from her ex. Remember Freddie, that man. Yeah. How Jeezy's way different.
Let's talk about you.
We
then,
can talk about you right now.
You got a new little relationship?
I do, yes.
Right, Jeezy?
Yes, Jeezy. It's so therapeutic to be in a relationship where both of us met at a very important time of our life, where we just want to heal from our past and we want to choose what our next 40 years are going to be like. It's different when you date in your 20s and it's very different when you date in your 30s. You're kind of figure out what the decisions are. Yeah. But when you're in your 40s, you decide what you want and you make that life what it is.
You're exactly right. And we're actually it's not often, when they say you feed the right person. No, I always say it's the right timing.
Yes.
It's all about the timing. You can have a great person, but if they come out at a time in your life.
You may not be ready.
You may not be ready, then you're just going to mess it up.
Things must have been going so well for these two because in April of 2020, y'all know during COVID and whatnot, young Jeezy, the snowman, proposed to Jeannie. And the internet went wild.
Successful men marry. They marry. But who are they marrying? Competitive, successful, high-value black men marry women like Jeannie Mom. They don't marry women like Lonnie Love.
Crazy story. At this exact moment, I should actually be in Vietnam with my family and Jay and his dad. For Christmas, I had gifted Jay with the surprise that I was taking him to Vietnam. To explain to Jay where I was taking him in Vietnam, I made dioramas. Yes, like a book report. I actually made these dioramas that depicted all the details of the beautiful cities I was going to take him to.
Red flag. See, she took him to beautiful cities. Luxury. She didn't love Freddie. I'm telling y'all. She made that man suffer. But knowing what we know now, that's okay. Let him suffer, sis. It's really interesting to see how she had these dioramas taking him to the luxurious area of Vietnam. I want you to see where I really come from. Why didn't you take him to your mama's childhood home, sis? Remember the ones with the mosquitoes? You didn't want to do that? The lack of running water and no electricity in the heat. Remember that? when he had to prove his love. Oh yeah, because I wanted him to see the real me and see if he could hang. Remember that? But Jeezy doesn't have to do that, y'all. She respects him. That's why. Let's continue.
I was taking him specifically to South Vietnam, which is Ho Chi Minh. And from South Vietnam, travel all the way through North Vietnam, going through all the major cities so that he could discover the entire country and land in Sapa, the northernest part of Vietnam, which is like barely along the border. And it would have been the most amazing escapade that nobody else could have taken him on but me. So we couldn't go. And I was really bummed. It was really nice. It was actually really, really nice to get back into like the date night mode, right? Then I came back to his place. I was coming down the hall and I started to hear really good R&B music, which Jay and I love, right? Jodeci, some Maxwell, and I was like, oh, we're having that kind of night. I just had this feeling that he was going to have the most adorable smile when he opened the door. Every single time in the past that I've shown up for date night, he's always just had this twinkle in his eye and he opens the door and I always wish to myself, damn, I wish I recorded that. So I popped up my camera and I had it ready. And I sat there waiting forever at the door. And then boom, he opens the door and he's wearing all black. He looks super handsome in a fitted black shirt and his trouser pants. And I saw like the place super dark inside. And I was like, oh my God, he like really made this like a serious date night. There were actual silk lanterns. Where did you get the lanterns? During the quarantine.
Welcome to Vietnam.
Wait, what? The kinds that you can only get in Vietnam hanging on the window. Pause. And then when I looked closer at every dish he had ordered was from South to North Vietnam.
Those are bánh mì, chai giò, and tôm chiên.
So it was like cariga and cơm chiên and gỏi cuốn, all these amazing dishes. And I was like, wait, how did you order these things while there's a quarantine? He was pouring me more wine and everything he was doing was so calm. So I start to sit down, but before I sit down, he says, wait, I want to show you where you are in Vietnam. So he turns my direction to this TV right here and proceeds to go through a slideshow. From the south to the north, he took me on the exact tour that was on my itinerary that I was planning to take him right now.
Freddie and Jeezy love a slideshow. So she got 2 slideshows for her engagements. Very, very, very telling, y'all.
Then we get to Yanchi Mountain, and guess who's there? Mama Mai, of course. Of course, she has to horn in on our trip. Mama Mai. Yeah, you. But
bookmark this. This is definitely going to be a Three's Company type of relationship. Just letting y'all know.
I just see Jay's eyes, and I don't notice, but he pulls out of his pocket this box, and he gets on one knee, and he looks at me, and he's like, will you marry me? I froze. I completely froze because I just could not believe that he did this. I then, at that very moment, figured it all out. Jay had planned to propose to me in Vietnam. The reason why he brought Vietnam to me is because he didn't want the quarantine to stop the fact that he wanted to propose to me. Jay is my soulmate. I've never met somebody who quite understood more than myself what means most to me in life, what touches me to the core, and what I really need: quality, sacred, intimate time.
All right, Jay is his soulmate, y'all. We done heard it from her. Now let's move on to how she told her colleagues, because now, she told us on her YouTube channel, but she also revealed the news to her coworkers. I don't know if I mentioned it within these timelines or whatever, but they packed Tamar right up out of there. All right, so Tamar was no longer on The Real, and they had a few guest co-hosts. Eventually, Amanda Seales showed up. Y'all know Amanda Seales, the militant woman. All right, so now let's get into how Jeannie revealed to her coworkers that her and Jeezy were engaged.
Wait. So, is there anything you want to tell us? I hear there's been some big news that has happened over this break. Some good news out of this, it's nice to hear some warm, good news during this pandemic. So, Jeannie, what had happened?
As we're talking, I just want you to know, I slipped this 3-week nail, and I'm not about to show. I'm trying to keep it together for this ring, so I'm gonna glue my nail while I tell you this story. Yes, I'm officially engaged. It's crazy. What? And I have to tell you, it was so hard, just saving these details because we're really real with our real fam. And I was like, oh, I gotta tell these girls. I want them to know everything. Welcome, fam. There's a question that I get asked in my DMs whenever I put out and ask for you guys to ask me anything. When do you know, especially after anything traumatic or sad can happen, when do you know that you are ready to love again? I want to get into that today. So many of you know that after divorce, I specifically took some time to be with myself.
What time did you take, Jeannie? Red flag. You didn't. You didn't. You got divorced in October of 2018 and started dating Jeezy in January of 2019. You didn't take any time. But let's hear you again. Her and Jeezy have this in common: revisionist history. So let's hear your time that you took. Jeannie, People Magazine has a whole entire timeline of your relationship with young Jeezy the Snowman. Number 1, taking things public. Though the two had quietly been dating since they met on the set of The Real in late 2018. Red flag. I thought it was 2019. You got divorced in October of 2018.
There are 28 roses in each vase. It's a symbol of the first day we met, November 28th. Why double the roses? Because every day since, I've been double the man. Your mother once told me that with the right amount of water and care, orchids will grow forever. Let's grow forever. Happy Valentine's Day.
On March 27th of 2021, Jeezy and Jeannie tied the knot at their home in Atlanta, Georgia. Beautiful wedding, y'all. Beautiful wedding. Now let's get to her wedding story, because people noticed that her real co-hosts were nowhere to be found in the pictures. And we were trying to figure out what had happened, sis, because these are supposed to be your besties and your co-workers, yet no one was there. So let's hear a little bit about her wedding and why she didn't invite her co-hosts.
We want to first start by, giving a little bit of a congratulations to you, Jeannie, on saying I do to the love of your life. You married Jeezy in a small, intimate ceremony on March 27th in Atlanta at your home. It looked so beautiful. You both looked happy and gorgeous. So I just want to know, how does it feel to be Mrs. Jeannie Mai Jenkins?
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Garcelle. It feels actually right. For the past year and a half, as I've been celebrating the little milestones between Jeezy and I when we first met on the show, by the way, it always felt a little off to describe him as my boyfriend or somebody that I was just dating, because it felt so much more than that. So today, actually, with my EP, Rachel, I officially signed my name for the first time with Jenkins to it. And so that we can put it into the show credit that you guys see today. And that was the first time I've ever signed it.
Red flag. Remember when she was, I'm every woman, it's all in me. And she said that she wanted to keep the name Mai because it meant so much to her. And she didn't want to take the last name Hard Ties. I know I was calling him Hard Tees, but Hard Ties. And she was very adamant and was like, nope, I'm not taking my man's last name. I'm going to keep my name as Jeannie Mai because of my ethnicity, you see, because my parents are from Vietnam and it's a connection to my father because I love my father so dearly. What happened, Miss Jenkins? Jenkins is nowhere near Vietnam. Now we can see you were full of crap. But then again, this is what happens when you don't love somebody. This should be an example, y'all. I will have to drill it in your heads. When somebody does not love you, their actions will show it. We could clearly see that she didn't have no love for this man. She might have loved what he did for her. Sis did not love him at all. she was quick to sign Jeezy's last name. She's like, hey, Jenkins, forget about the my F all that. That's gonna be my last name. Interesting, Jeannie. Carry on.
Oh, I'm so proud to finally be Mrs. Jenkins.
So is that official? Like that's your new name? Like you are Mrs. G? Like Mai becomes your middle name?
Yeah, and it's just my full name. Jeannie Mai Jenkins is.
And look at Lonnie. Lonnie couldn't even fake the smile. Look at Adrian. Fancy or Garcelle. Garcelle doesn't really care because her and Jeannie weren't that close. But look at Lonnie and Adrian. That's that fake look. First of all, Lonnie like, I know this heifer didn't tell us all these years that she did not want to take a man's last name. And look at her now. And Adrian's just looking like, why wasn't I invited to this wedding? I thought I was your bestie. Let's continue.
That's my full name. I know you and I talk about the importance of names. And I even know on the show that I've always said, I wasn't ever going to commit to that. But I realized that you can never say never. And when it actually feels right, when you feel just like it couldn't be that. I couldn't be with Jeezy without being his name, who is his family name is about and what he's about. So I'm proud to put that name onto mine and to blend our identities together, and I have to tell you, ladies, you guys were the first 3 people outside of our family to know that Jeezy and I decided to do a secret ceremony.
And then why weren't they invited, Jeannie? Red flag. Please let us know. Why weren't they invited? Please let us know. Did Jeezy say, no, don't invite your gossiping coworkers? Is that what it was? Why weren't they prioritized? Or is it just a work relationship? Y'all not really as close as we thought you were. Please explain. Let's hear it.
And calling you each was such an exciting moment to actually tell you guys about it. Garcelle, even when you told me about Oliver and his private ceremony, it encouraged me so much to be able to make this decision for ourselves. And it was a really hard decision too, only because of COVID. If it weren't for COVID, we actually were planning to have the wedding that we wanted. I mean, imagine if I've got, my full gamut of friends. Imagine Jeezy and his entire journey of his career.
Basically, you guys weren't important enough to make the list. That's practically what she said. Next!
So I just appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Adrian was scratching her head because how many years have you known these folks? They should have been prioritized. I'm being honest. You've been on the show with them since 2013. You got married in 2020. They were there for you when you were snotting about Freddie. They probably had late night prayer calls knowing Adrian. I know she was comforting you. I just don't understand, Jeannie. But then again, people become brand new when they get with people. I'm just saying. Let's continue.
It's because after Jeezy's mom passed, we realized that life is way too short and tomorrow is never promised. Yeah. So to us, it was just most important to exchange our vows and begin our life. And we can celebrate the big wedding later on.
Was the real family invited to the wedding? This is 313. So we had a very COVID-safe wedding in our home, which means there was, literally just there were 2 tables in our living room of our closest family and friends, people I grew up with, people that had to know me and Jay. Those were the 2 rules. Jay made my list and I made his list. And we were very firm on, because of COVID, you're not supposed to be throwing events right now. You're not supposed to be, putting anybody in risk. And so with our family, we said, we are only going to invite our close family and people who know us both. And so if you hadn't met both of us and you hadn't spent time with us, then we thought this would be best for you to be there at the wedding later on. Because we will have a wedding where everybody can be invited. Because I'm sure, Jay has a guest list that.
The wedding never happened, y'all. Continuing. Spoiler alert.
So no, I didn't invite the ladies, but I did call them all ahead of time to let them know that we were doing this. They were actually the first to know that we were having a secret ceremony, and they kept their secret. And so when we have the wedding later on, hopefully things can change then, because COVID now, anything could happen.
After their wedding, Jeannie had some life updates to share with us. So let's hear about her and Jeezy's big plans moving forward.
I hope everybody had safe holidays. I know for me, it was a very different holiday, but we were very safe. So we were so safe that my family, for the first time, canceled Christmas.
We actually canceled our Christmas party. Of course, we didn't cancel Christmas. That's like Jesus' birthday. But we canceled Christmas because we know our family parties, there's no way we could get 30 of the wildest mice come together and actually quarantine safely, make sure that they take their tests and get the results to us. There was no way we were able to have a party. Everybody did their own thing. And for me and Jay, we ended up going to Napa so that we could spend time with my mom and also my dad and go hang and everybody else that came. Uncle Ted couldn't make it. He wanted to stay safely quarantining in Houston, which makes sense. Being able to be with Jay in Napa was so magical.
Okay, look at the family. He's integrating right in. Love to see it.
It was so special because obviously California weather is everything, and especially winter, it's super crisp, and Napa is so beautiful. All the trees were super frosted with like cold weather, but not too cold where it wasn't bearable.
Did you see Tamara while you were there, Jeannie? Inquiring minds would like to know.
Outside, you've got your gushy turtleneck on. It was so fun. We got this beautiful home in Napa, and we sipped wine every day. We made so many different recipes. I cooked breakfast for my family. I got Jay matching pajamas that we wore every single night, which was so cool. After our engagement, we went right into work. Yay, cheers, we're getting married, and then went right into our crazy schedules. So we never really got to take a break. Over the holidays, I decided that I wanted to move out of my house. What are you doing? Yeah, I know, our actual home for Hello Honey. Our entire studio is packed away in boxes.
Jeannie and Jeezy's nuptials had the whole manosphere celebrating because remember, in the manosphere, Jeannie is feminine, fit, and friendly. And Jeezy was like, the hood dude turned entrepreneur, so they were loving it. Now let's hear a little bit about how they were rejoicing now that Jeannie was able to get a successful black meat on the side.
But see, here's the situation. Jeannie Mai is one of the reasons women who feel like that, I believe is one of the reasons that a lot of black men are doing what we know as interracial relationships or marriages. Now, I think that while Adrienne Houghton may talk like that, could be that she's more submissive behind the scenes. But I think the thing about it is this. Sisters will have a problem with non-black women saying that they want to submit to a black man. And then the shaming tactics that come behind that is, well, you can't handle a strong black woman. That's what I'm going to say next. But here's the thing. Two things I want to talk about. Young Jeezy is probably a man that she wants to submit to, and she has the mindset that she should submit. In the black community, right? A lot of, I will say this. I feel that a lot of black men that are decent and incapable of being husbands, they have to fight too much for this authority they should already have. Now, which is interesting because a lot of women in the black community are Christian. And at the same time, while they'll bring up the shrimp and, well, the Bible's written differently then and now, they're going to want you to provide a lot of money, provide great lifestyles without them submitting. They're going to want you to protect them without them submitting. Here's what's happening in other cultures that I'm looking at, from what I'm understanding. These women are a little bit more better prepared for gender roles.
But I want to say this. Yeah, I want to say this to all my sisters out there. I want to say this to all my sisters out there that feel me when I say that you can be dominant or you are the leader in your life and you make all the decisions. When you are coupled with a man, men inherently, if you got a good man, want to lead and want to protect you. I'm going to tell you from experience. If you dominate so much that you actually kind of take over in your own household, that you don't give him room to feel like a man, fill in the blank however you want. You strip him of being able to do what it is he does well.
I agree to a certain extent. However, sis, you're not balanced. You done went from one extreme where you were the dominant one to another extreme where now you're giving Jeezy the keys to be dominant. Why isn't there balance with you, Jeannie? Where's your therapist? Why don't you have balance in your life? Why is it always one extreme to the other? And we're going to see how this worked out for her, because I have the feeling that she thought that because she was so dominant with her and Freddie's relationship, she decided that it was better for her to just pull all the way back with Jeezy. But he's not somebody who I would trust to lead a household. This man cannot even handle his emotions. He has serious attachment issues, and he needs to work on his wounds. We can clearly see that even now. But of course, he showed you a side to him that he wanted you to see. So you were okay with him leading. I get it. Mind you, he was in a relationship with the mother of his child, and he didn't treat her that well. I'm talking about the one before you. You just got out of a marriage with a man who was weak and couldn't even stand up to you. So this dynamic was never going to work. It's like you gave him all the power. And I wish that you had just stayed true to yourself.
And it changes the dynamic of your
That's not true, Jeannie.
in ways that you may not have expected.
I
don't
know about that, Jeannie. I don't know about that.
I don't think that's true for everyone. I don't think that's true for everyone. I'm saying it was true I'm talking about my own experience. In my experience, I need to there are areas where a man has to be able to have room to lead. And if you try to take over on everything, he's like, where am I, what areas are we leaning on me to just be who I want to be in this relationship?
That's not my experience. And I my experience has always been one of partnership and of equality. And I like for my man to come and ask me my opinion. And if we have an issue, we work it out, and we're compatible. And that's what I love about my relationship with James, is that it's totally 50%. I mean, and I just hate the label of equality, but I feel like I have a voice. I feel like I can.
You should, Lonnie. And for that, I will say green flag. Yes, it should be a partnership, y'all. And I understand everyone has a different marital dynamic, but from my experience and from what I've seen, the submissive ones, they never get treated the best. I'm just being honest. Usually the husband walks all over them, or he just uses it as an excuse to do him. And then the wife is left trailing, running up behind him until she is of no use to him anymore. That's not all cases, because there are some responsible leaders out there. But usually when a husband is more of the leader and his wife is quote unquote submissive, she still has a voice. It's not like she gives him all of his power. There's something called responsible leadership. It's kind of like if you have a boss at work. Who would you like to work for? Who is better to work under? Somebody who just tells you what to do and then you just do it and you go home, or someone who actually collaborates and respects your role in the company and respects your expertise and experience and asks you, like, of course, the CEO or your manager can just tell you what to do and delegate tasks to you. But then at the same time, doesn't it feel better when they actually treat you like a human? And they're like, hey, I know you're really good at this. What's your opinion on this? You're the expert in this. When they value you as an employee, don't you want to work with them more? Why would I want to be with somebody that's just delegating tasks to me? Oh, you do this, you submissive, you do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do what I want, and just make decisions without consulting the company. You see, it wouldn't work in the real world, right? Because people would get the heck up out of that company. They'd be like, oh, they're making decisions. They're not even consulting us. They're just making decisions, and they're not even asking us how we feel about it. Just doing whatever. Oh, I know what's best for my employees, so I'm just going to do whatever I want. Why do you think jobs have town halls? Because they know they're about to make a decision that's going to affect you. So they need your what? Opinion and input. It's a partnership. See, this is what I don't understand. People can logically understand it when it comes to money and finances and work, but somehow relationships, goo goo gaga. I'm just going to give you everything, goo goo gaga. Goodness, let's continue.
Trust him. He can trust me. And it's not this way here. Like, he's up here and I gotta, yes.
Right.
I just work so hard in my life that I trust him and I feel it. That's all. But everybody's got their own thing.
Why don't you like the word equal? Because isn't that equal?
Well, you know what? I love what you're saying, Jeannie, but I think also you can be the boss outside and want to come in and feel girly and let him lead. But I also think what Lonnie is saying about, just feeling like no one's really above each other, that he will check in with her, she will check in with him. And I think that makes you feel like you're in charge of your life too.
And you lean on each other. I grew up in a household. My mom she has a very strong force, and she took over a lot of decisions in the household to the point that my dad, unless it was always going to be a fight, he was like, you know what? Go ahead. Whatever you want to decide, go ahead. And I'm just going to do me. And that causes a wedge. And I can have that tendency. I'm just saying for me, I can have that tendency to follow like my mom because it's what I grew up in and I saw it. And I saw in my living space, I would all of a sudden just wake up and go and make decisions without asking and checking it.
This is what we call a generational pattern. She watched her mom do that, so therefore she picked up that habit and she did it herself. I commend her for admitting this because this is the first step into being aware that you have that type of behavior. So I'm not going to condemn her for that. But what I will say though is she is approaching it in the wrong way. Another element that I would like to add is Jeannie's mother came from an abusive household where her father abused her and her mother and her brother. Seeing that as a child and knowing that her mom did not have control in that situation, that would most likely be the reason why when she entered into marriage, she was the one who led the household. And it's literally a form of having more control. She was very strategic in choosing a man who was not like her father, but again, when you don't deal or resolve with childhood trauma, and I'm not faulting her mother because the resources weren't out there for her to do that, and also it's very taboo in Asian culture as well. Her mother is literally unconsciously trying to get rid of the pattern of being a submissive wife. When it comes to Jeannie watching her mother be very dominant and domineering, this led her to follow the same pattern. With her first marriage failing, she feels like she has to take on the submissive role, which is the same role that her grandmother played. It just keeps going and going. And unless you do the inner work, I promise you guys need to do that inner work because these patterns will just keep repeating themselves, but in different forms.
So I am the fault that can cause the inequality because I am pulling in my habits from my old household to how I run my business today. And that is not okay. And I'm careful and aware of that today. So I'm just telling that to anybody else who didn't tell me.
Remember when he had her do homework? I feel like he already conditioned her. He had a lot of homework assignments for her, and she probably picked up on the fact that he wants a submissive wife. Like, truly submissive. Y'all know the black man submissiveness 101. Jeezy gives me the vibe that he's a red pillar. Jeezy definitely likes to take the lead. We already have established that.
When I could have learned that before.
Yeah. What you're saying is that women can be submissive, and men can be submissive to women, just as women can be submissive to men or dominating. We'll take out the word submissive and say dominating.
To yield to each other. Dominating. To yield to each other. Yes.
Got it.
So the actual definition of submit is to accept or yield to a superior force or to the authority or will of another person. So I'm going to say right here that I, Jeannie Mai, going into my marriage, I want to submit to my man.
After Jeannie went on a press tour telling us how she was going to be a submissive wife to Jeezy, in September of 2021, Jeannie and Jeezy announced that they were pregnant with their first child. Jeannie Mai Jenkins is going to be a mom. Please stay tuned for the conclusion of this case study.